Hey global leader! Today you will learn how emotionally intelligent global executives give awesome feedback. This is a hot topic. Every once in a while, leaders discuss how to better develop their top talents, and they always end up reaching to the conclusion that there was not enough feedback during the talent development process. Giving proper and constructive feedback can provide greater awareness of development areas to your employees, improve their performance, and help them achieve far more. Hi, I'm Tati Fittipaldi, and in this channel, we make videos to help global leaders make impactful business decisions and become effective, inclusive, and influential. So you are here today because you have some form of leadership role and you want to develop people and help them achieve more. And that's why you are looking into feedback, because you know that effective feedback can be very powerful. Let's prime this video first by reminding you that giving feedback is a communication sub-skill that sits under one of the 4 success pillars of global leadership, which is people leadership. I will leave a card link for you if you want to watch later a video about the 4 success pillars in global leadership and how to leverage them in your career. Alright, so let's dive in. Before we start talking about a step-by-step feedback process, we need to talk about some ground rules for effective feedback. First, feedback is an act of collaboration. Very few leaders get this. You give feedback because you want to develop your employees and help them achieve something. And you are doing these things for a reason. Whatever the reason is, when you succeed giving a good feedback, you are receiving something in return at the end of the day. When you just rant, scold, or toast your employee, this is not feedback. You are getting nothing in return, besides their hurt and anger, that is. So if you give your employee really helpful feedback, the kind of thing that will indeed help them, and you in return, it is an act of collaboration, and you have to frame it this way when delivering your feedback. When you frame it this way, you are not giving feedback from a stance of superiority. You both are on the same ground, and their success means your success. Second, feedback needs a foundation of trust. If you didn't take the time to build the trust relationship with your employee, quite frankly, your feedback, no matter how good it is, may fall flat. So building trust is key. Alright, based on these grounding rules, which as you can see is not yet used by all leaders out there, let's define what is feedback, considering this context. Feedback is an act of providing information about a reaction to or performance of something or someone, and this is done with the intent of improving it or them, and in return, their improvement will provide you a direct or an indirect benefit. So let's see now a step-by-step process that emotionally intelligent global leaders use to nail giving feedbacks to their employees. Step number 1, check your motives. This is connected with the collaboration aspect. Knowing the reason why you decided to provide feedback will hint you as whether it will be a good feedback or just a rant back. If you want to share feedback because you want to feel superior, more educated, more studied, more traveled, or anything centered around how you feel or want to feel, then it's not feedback either. Well, that's not even emotionally intelligent, let's face it. So here are some questions to help you dig into your motives. Why do I want to share this reaction or information? How will both of us benefit from me sharing this content right now? Step number 2, research your audience. Research and understand who the person or institution you are giving feedback to is. How is their communication style? Are they from high context culture or low context culture? Is there a preferred method of learning and receiving messages? If you are interested in improving your cultural competence and learning more about how to communicate with high and low context cultures, I will leave a link for you below. A lot of leaders dismiss this step altogether, but it's super important for when you deliver your feedback. If you match your delivery with their style and what you know about them and how they consume information, you will be far more successful. How do you achieve this? By building trust and mapping your employees' styles and preferences over time. And you can also always ask them. When people see that you are genuinely interested in understanding what resonates with them more, they will become more open to you. Here are some questions for you. What's my employees' decision-making style? How they prefer to consume information? What are their main goals? And how this feedback ties to them. Step number 3, prepare a strong feedback content. When creating your content, you have to remind yourself that this is an act of collaboration. So being constructive, specific, and understandable is imperative. This means content that will support people gain specific information that will help them grow and develop. There are 2 types of content. Content highlighting a strength, so you are sharing something good they did and you want them to gain awareness of that and keep it up. And then there is the content that highlights something that needs improvement. It's very sad to report that more than 80% of the leaders only remember to share feedback on improvements and very rarely on strengths. Some leaders go as far as saying that,
if I am not saying anything, then it means I am satisfied and you are doing well.
That's not leadership, in my books at least. You're running away from developing your talented employees if you have this kind of mindset. So here's an outline for sharing improvements needed. Share context. Where and when did you specifically observe the situation you are referring to? Identify the problem. What it is exactly that didn't work so well and why. Provide a specific solution. What could they have done precisely to make things work better? Clarify desired result. What would they achieve instead by using this proposed solution? And here is an outline for sharing strengths. Share context. Where and when did you specifically observe the situation you are referring to? Identify the strength. What was it exactly that did work so well and why? And then provide alternative applications for that strength. Where else could they apply the same thing and also obtain good results like that? Then clarify desired result. What will they achieve if they continue to perform or behave like that? Step number 4, strategize your feedback delivery. Although feedback is indeed an act of collaboration by sharing improvement or strength information, because it touches personal matters and skills, it can be sometimes delicate for some people. And that's why I said before, it's important to build trust first. This means that before delivering any feedback, we strongly recommend that you ask permission to share your feedback. You can be as formal as, "Do you allow me to share a feedback?" Or as informal as, "Here's my reaction. Are you interested in hearing it?" Here are 3 main methods you can use to deliver your feedback. 1. The sandwich method. The sandwich method starts the feedback sharing a positive aspect of what the person did, then goes to the core of the development need or strength, then finalizes saying something good about the person, not necessarily related to what they did. Most borderline low-context cultures tend to use this method. 2. The sugar-coated method. The sugar-coated method gives feedback by sugarcoating the deficiency or strength to make it look acceptable or less faulty. The deficiency will appear less faulty and the strength will appear less positive. There are countries where complimenting people or giving strong feedback may be a sign of your weakness, so people tend to share positive feedback using this method. Most high-context cultures make heavy use of sugarcoating method. 3. The transparent method. The transparent method gives feedback by being straight to the point, to the core of the content, without being aggressive or condescending. It can be either constructive or destructive, depending on how the content was structured. Most low-context cultures tend to use the transparent method. One very important point regarding feedback delivery and global leaders is that each culture relies more on one type of delivery than others. For example, Latin countries tend to use the sugar-coating method more often than not, as I mentioned. Conversely, Germans and Finns tend to use the transparent method more often than not. Americans are very famous for the sandwich method. If you use the sugarcoating method in Germany, you might not do a proper job of providing feedback, even if your feedback is super constructive and valuable, because they will not put the right weight on the message. A similar thing might happen when using the transparent method in Latin countries. It will often create a strong reaction. Employees in LATAM, after receiving a straightforward and direct feedback, will leave the feedback session often thinking that they are about to get fired or promoted, instead of putting the correct weight for the intended message. And that is why step 2 is super important. You have to research your audience so that they give the proper weight to your feedback. Step number 5. Get a thermometer check at the end. Before the feedback session is over, make sure to check in with your employee and how they're feeling about what you just said. You can ask things like, what crossed your mind when I shared this information? Or how much of that resonated with you? Or even, how are you feeling about this? One quick pro tip here: if your employee is an introvert or someone who needs some time to privately process all the information and situations, give them space. If they respond, I have to think about it, that's your cue to give them some space. And that makes step 6 even more important. Step number 6. Agree on a follow-up action. They say that information and knowledge are power, but that is not entirely correct. Information and knowledge become power only when you take action on them. The last step of coaching expatriates' feedback methodology is to agree on a follow-up for this conversation. It might be a formal plan with a deadline or simply a day for the next conversation on this topic. Make sure to agree on a next step, something that is reasonable and achievable for you both. If possible, set the deadline or meeting date already in your calendars. What you want to achieve with this step is to give proper space to the feedback receiver to process all the information and start taking action on it, but ensuring a proper closure by following up. There you go, Global Leader. This is the exact methodology that emotionally intelligent global executives use when giving awesome and effective feedback. I am Tati Fittipaldi, and if you like this video, give me a thumbs up so that other people can also find me. And it would mean a lot to me if you share this video and hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching.